Hello there, it's Gina Gardiner. For those who don't know me very well, I'm an international best-selling author, I'm an empowerment and relationship coach, and I work strategically with businesses, getting the very best out of people so that they fulfill the potential and help the business become more profitable, but with better relationships and work-life balance. I have a humongous mission, and my mission is to help 1 million people in the next 5 years to feel more confident and to live a happy and fulfilling life. Now, I can't do that on my own, nor do I intend to. But my hope is that you will help me reach those people and in your way also spread the word so that together we actually help people live a life that is far less based on fear and much more based on being loving, compassionate and caring. Actually recognizing that we're not broken, that we are not victims unless we choose to be. So I'd be really, really grateful for your help. Share the video, make contact, ask questions, anything that you can do to actually get the word out there. Invite people to join the group, the more the merrier. Today's theme is about who do you spend your time with and how constructive is that time. I want you to think about the people you spend the most time with now, whether that's the people at work or whether that's family. And which of those people do you, when you've spent time with them, come away thinking, do you know what, I feel great. I've got lots of energy, they've made me think, my mind's buzzing. And how many of them do you meet and actually you feel incredibly tired? You feel as if somebody's pulled the plug out because they've literally sucked the very life out of you. I call those people energy vampires, and there are plenty of them about. Of course, one of the things you have to consider is you have to think about what impact do you have on other people, because it's very much a two-way process. So do you add energy to the mix, and a positive energy, or are you somebody who at times actually makes people feel very tired because you're dumping your problems, because you don't think about them, and it's not a two-way conversation? So today we're going to explore this issue because, you know, the relationships we have with other people are the thing that actually create the richness and fabric in our lives. And you want those relationships to be sound. I can't remember who it was. I think it might have been Tony Robbins, but he could have been borrowing that saying, that we are the sum of the 5 people that we spend the most time with. Who do you spend most of your time with? And is that because you've got to, or because you choose to? Because so often, you know, we find ourselves in situations where we have no choice. We've got to spend time. Whether that's your family and you feel duty bound to spend time with people that you don't particularly get on with or who are very negative, or it might be that you are within the work context and that you work with people in your team who are very negative. I think a lot of this depends on how you operate within that situation and whether you just sit and take the moans and the groans and the people being negative, or whether you try to shift them. Now, you've got to be really careful, because if you don't shift them in the right way, they can feel rejected, they can feel that you're against them, and you actually make things worse. So whatever you're doing, I would suggest you learn the neutral voice, a voice very much as I'm using now, a voice with no edge, no whine, no stroppiness to it, no aggression, because people hear the tone of voice and the energy behind it, and they make assumptions. So let's think about it in different contexts, because there is no doubt, you know, the old saying, you can choose your friends, but you can't choose your family, is very true. And I know from the many clients that I talk to, how many of those feel forced to spend time with family members who they find very destructive or very negative. And, you know, I'm reminded of the saying, if you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got. So if you're getting a response always from the same people, you can't change them, but you can change you. And so I would urge you, do something that they don't expect. If they're moaning and groaning, or they're complaining at you or about you, then do something different. Go and give them a hug and say, I'm really sorry you feel that way because I love you. Or, I can see I've upset you, let me go and make you a cup of tea. It's not about admitting that you're in the wrong, but it is about acknowledging the way in which they feel. Einstein talks about doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So if you want things to be different, the only person you have control over is you. So it's time to change you. Change the way in which you react to those things. Because most of us are doing things automatically. We're an automatic pilot. We're doing things mindlessly. It doesn't actually connect with our conscious mind. It simply connects with that habitual part of us that goes into a particular round of behavior in response to their particular round of behavior. And so you get these habitual patterns that go nowhere. Spending time with your family, I think it's important that if you struggle with certain members of your family, that you orchestrate it so that perhaps you don't have to spend as much time, or you make sure that where you can, that perhaps there are other people there as well, so it actually softens the situation. Ultimately, you have a choice as to whether or not you're going to spend time with them or not, and on which terms. And I'm reminded of a client who had a mother who was really, really critical and difficult to deal with. And, you know, part of that was actually protecting my client, feeling that she was protecting herself and giving herself permission to imagine that there was a really strong screen in front of her. So when the vitriol from her mother hit the screen, she could imagine it just slithering down like an egg on a riot shield. But also, if mum was being very difficult, to say, do you know what, mum, I think I'll go for a walk. No banging of doors, no flouncing, no nothing other than, I just think I'll go for a walk because I can see that you're not very happy with me, and I think I will just go and leave it because I don't want to be part of it. What's really important is the voice, because the minute you put an edge to that, it becomes something very, very different. Friends are an interesting one, and you know, I think it's useful from time to time to actually do an audit of your friends and think to yourself, are these really my friends? They may have been friends in the past, but are they actually still truly friends? Do we have the same sort of values? Do I enjoy spending time with them? And I'm reminded of somebody who I thought was a friend, and I would be on the phone, and it was always, you don't know how, from her, you don't know how difficult things are. You don't know how I feel. Nobody feels as unhappy as I do. Nobody has got as much pain as me. And I would phone and I would listen for 45 minutes or an hour. And rarely did she ask how I was. Interestingly, we'd met in hospital. And so we both had a number of health issues. But she was very, very much tied up with how she was. Things came to a head for me one day, a few weeks after my mum had died. And we were having a conversation, and I listened for about 45 minutes about how terrible life was, and nobody understood her, and it wasn't fair, and. And she finally said, and how are you? And I said, I'm feeling a bit sad because mum died 3 weeks ago. Oh, she said, and then carried straight on talking about her. And in that moment, I recognized that this wasn't a friendship. I was being used as a battering ram. I was being used as a bowl or a bucket for her to just dump in. Friendships aren't always even in the sense that, you know, it's tit for tat. I listen to you, you listen to me. But over time, there should be an evenness to them. There should be a situation where you can speak as well as listen. And I think it's something to be really mindful of, that when we are caught up in the drama of something, it's very easy to forget that the person on the listening end also is living their life and also has challenges. They may not be as big as ours, or at least we don't think they're as big as ours, but they are part of that other person's life. And it's important that we actually take the time and take the interest in them. The paradox is that as soon as you start taking an interest in somebody else and stop being very focused on you, actually you feel better. Because when you become so focused and that record is going round and round and round, all that we are doing is deepening the negative feelings. We're not dealing with them. They're just going round and round and round. And one way to actually start to get them into some sort of balance is to start having the focus not just on us and our difficulty, but on other people as well. So friends are a bit tricky in the sense that, we have friends who we've known for years, some friends that we've known much less time, but we may feel close to. But being a good friend means that, yes, you are prepared to listen, that you are prepared to help. But there is nothing about a friend which says you need to be a doormat. And ultimately, being with your friend over time, not when they're going through a crisis, but over time, should be something that fills you up, that makes you feel good, that makes you feel the best you can be. If you spend time with so-called friends who put you down, who make light of your achievements, who are always trying to score points on you, I would suggest that you need to think about your definition of what a friend is. Because good friends want the best for you. Good friends won't be self-indulgent. They'll tell you if they think you're doing something wrong, but they'll do it in a way that is empowering and not one that belittles you or makes you feel small. And if your so-called friends come into that category, it's time to sack them. You can start by asking them, talking to them and saying that when you speak to me in this way, this is the impact it has on me. But if they continue to do that and they continue to make you feel on the back foot, to make you feel belittled, small, incomplete, then you need to ask yourself the question, why am I spending time with them? Now, there's a caveat to this, and the caveat is the only person you are actually responsible for is you. However, that means you've also got to take responsibility for yourself. Don't blame your friends because you're not feeling good. You have the choice to spend the time with them or not. You have the choice to take on board what they say or not. Simply because somebody says something is true about you doesn't make it the truth. It might be their truth, but it's not necessarily yours. And it is your choice whether you listen to it and see there is some truth in that, I need to do something about it, or there is no truth in that, I'm not going to take it on board. Now, the time you spend with people in work is very different. And I think I'd like to differentiate between if you're a team member and if you're the manager or the leader. Because I think there are behaviours that are very specific to both. And although there are common threads, I think that there is a distinctive difference. If you spend a lot of time with colleagues who are very negative, who are always moaning, who are bullish about the way they speak to you or other people, then it's really important that you decide whether or not you're going to put up with that or not. Now, I don't believe in confrontation, but I do believe in confronting the issue and confronting the issue in a non-aggressive way. I don't believe in aggression, don't think there's any need for it. But if you are spending time with somebody who is always going on and on about the negative or is in any way diminishing what you do or taking the credit for what you do, then it is important that you don't ignore it, that you actually have the conversation with them, or if you don't feel able to, that you go and talk to your boss. That's what they're there for. But rather than just doing a general moan, just keep a note and give them some examples. Now, it's no good going to your boss and saying, this is happening, but don't say anything, because then you're asking them to do something and then taping their mouth over with tape and tying their hands behind their back. So if things aren't right, it's really important that you actually make that point to whoever is most appropriate. Now, if the problem is with your boss, that's a different situation. And if you're in a very small organization, that's quite difficult. But I would say, again, take note, get yourself under control, emotion, and prepare what you want to say. Make sure you don't do this in a way that puts you on the back foot. So ask to see the boss if the boss is the problem, and perhaps ask somebody else to go with you and say, when this is going on, then this is the impact that it has. If you don't feel brave enough, and there's HR there or somebody responsible for HR, really important that you go and speak. However, be prepared, be specific. Vague general things aren't going to work. If you need some help, you can always message me and I'll do my very best to help you, because these are very much determined by specific situations. Now, if you're the manager or you're the leader of a team or an organisation, I believe that you have a duty of care to the people that you work with. That is to model the behaviours that you want from them. Aggression, bullying, belittling, I think there is no place for that ever. You need to have high, clear, explicit expectations of your staff and make sure that they know what they are. But you can do that with compassion and you can do that with strength without being a bully. I want to say that again. You can have high expectations of everybody and hold people to account, but you can do it in a way which is done with care, compassion, but leaves people very clear about what is expected of them and why, and the consequences if they don't. A lot of that is down to the body language that you use, to the words that you use, and to the way in which you approach the situation. When I ran a very large school, for me, we had certain cultural things. A moan-free zone. Don't moan about things. If there's a problem, bring it up, state the problem, and be part of the solution. Be a solution finder, not a problem dumper. And you have to look to yourself if you're the boss. It's no good blaming other people. It's really important. You set the tone. You create the culture. And unless you're prepared to model the behaviours that you want, you can't expect other people to come up with the goods. You want your organisation or your team to be a place where people want to share. So give credit where it's due. Give praise fulsomely. Always thank people and recognise that the best idea is the idea that other people think they've had. So if you've got a great idea and you sow the seed and other people come up with the idea, supposedly, give them credit. Because that way they'll own it and they're much more likely to take it forward. So creating a culture within your team or your organisation, your family, where things are shared, where people want to help and support one another. That it's not, let's get something over on that person. Let's be seen to be the most powerful, be seen to be the most successful. For me, within my organisation, everybody was appointed on the understanding that part of their job was to help other people grow and be the best they could be. And I think that's the job of parents. That's the job within a family of siblings, is to support and help their siblings be the best they can be. It's an interesting concept, power. And many people believe in order to feel powerful, you've got to diminish somebody else. Now that's true of, those leaders have been involved in trying to create world domination. people like Hitler or Mussolini. And there are plenty of modern day leaders like that. You only need to watch the news. But if you look at the leaders who've taken people with them and had the moral high ground, there are also people like that. Examples, people like Mandela, people like Gandhi. Be the leader within your pack, whether that's your family, whether that's within your community, in a small case or in a larger sense. Be the spiritual matriarch if you're a woman, or the spiritual patriarch. Show others that you have a moral high ground, that you can actually demonstrate all of the things that you talk about, rather than say, do as I do, not do as I say, rather than do as I do. Modeling by example, I would suggest to you, is the most powerful way to get people to do what you want. So when I was at school and we had a zero tolerance of aggression, everybody was trained to manage difficult situations. And it was made very clear that we could only do that if every member of staff, teaching and non-teaching, were absolutely committed to never fight fire with fire, to never meet aggression with aggression. Being assertive, different thing, but not being aggressive. And so I would say to you, when you think about all of the relationships that you have, think about the impact you have on other people and be clear about what it is you want to achieve. If there are other people having an impact on you that's negative and one which makes you feel small, then in the first instance, look to yourself. What can you do to bolster your confidence, to be assertive, and to confront the issue without being confrontational? If you need help, reach out. You can do that through the comment box. You can send me a private message. And there are lots of things on my website, genuinely-you.com, that can and will help if you actually put them into action. If you're interested, come and join the Thrive Together tribe, which provides a structured program with videos, activity books, a theme journal. It also has a very active Facebook page where you can get support from me and other members, interactive coaching sessions, and visiting speakers. And you can try that for a month, and the details are in the comment box. So thank you very much for joining me today. I'm really very grateful that you've spent your time with me. Please help me in my grand mission to help 1 million people feel better about themselves, to feel more confident, and to live a happier and more fulfilling life. And you can do that by sharing the video, by making comments, raising issues for me to cover in future videos, by getting people to come and join the Genuinely You group, which is free and open, or trying the Thrive Together tribe for $1. What have you got to lose? So thanks very much, and I look forward to speaking to you tomorrow. Take care, with lots of love. Bye.